All right. Hello, everybody. This is Josh, also known as Yashu, and you're tuning into episode 19 of the TLOY Talks podcast. And today we have a very special and well-known guest in the building today. He's a Juno-nominated producer and sound engineer, born in Iran, raised in Dubai, and has lived in Toronto for a while now. He's worked with the likes of Doovie, Northsidebenji, Smiley, Houdini, Young Tory, and many more, and has international acts within placements with Vori and Blue, and has worked with the likes of TJ and Cowboy. He also played a major role in Northsidebenji's latest project, the Extravagant Collection. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Bavaro Beatz. How are you doing today, man?
Good, bro. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Thank you for coming by to the podcast for the very first time and all that. You know, I've been listening to the projects as a whole too, especially with Beat It Up Bavaro, which you released it last year, was very unique with the track listing, with the amount of guest features on there, with JC, Young Tory, a whole lot of other acts too, Northsidebenji, Doovie, and then your other work as well too with Two Sides of Me, and then also Beat It with Smiley and Blue as well too, and then also your part in the Extravagant Collection and all that. I think you've worked in a majority of the songs, or at least more so on the feature side, or
yeah, majority of the songs were produced by me, so I did basically 3 of them on the album, and then I also overlooked the mixes on all the songs.
Yeah, most definitely. And you were also nominated for the album too, so that was a kind of an interesting thing as well. So
yeah, for sure, we got the chance to get nominated for best rap album on the Junos this year, so that was a really good opportunity for us. Yeah, we didn't win it, but now we're on the map. You know what I mean? They have people are they know who we are now, what we're trying to do with this music stuff, take it to another level.
Yeah, man, no, most definitely. Thank you for coming by today and all that. I've seen your other interviews as well too with We Love Hip Hop, and your recent article with Six Buzz that was I think released a couple years ago and all that. Just reading them over and viewing them, and it has an interesting vibe too in that sense too. But since this is your first time on the podcast, I want to start off by talking about your upbringing and all that. So you were born in Tehran, raised in Dubai, and you lived in Toronto for a while now. So what were the environments for you as a kid at the time, in all three cities?
So as in Iran, I don't really remember as much because like I said, I moved at a really early age. So when I was in grade 1, I moved to Dubai, and then I had to start there in grade 2 because I was already fast checked everything. So when we did that, I stayed there till grades 5, and then grade 6 I came to Toronto. So in Dubai, it's when I was there, it's not as the luxury place as it is now. I saw all that get built type shit, basically I saw everything become what it is now,
Yeah, most definitely. And they had a lot of oil mines too back then before, but it wasn't as prevalent as now, especially with the whole condos and malls and luxurious buildings as well too. So
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. When I was over there, that's when bare job opportunities were opening up for people to start coming and investing and stuff. So now it is what it is because of all those people that came, when I was younger. But when you compare it to Canada, it's just you're so much here. It's you really live, because you're free here. You have freedom and stuff. Over there is it's really religious country, So
Yeah.
there's always going to be limitations and things that you can't do because of the laws and stuff, But here you really appreciate living here.
Yeah, most definitely. And this is around the late 90s, early 2000s, up until late 2000s as well. That's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah. So I guess around that time, this is way before the whole 9/11 phase happened. So how was that transition from just enjoying the life back then too until now, where usually just transitioning to different countries, there's a different level of treatment, especially people of Muslim origin in that sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So even now, when I went to Dubai last year just to, with Benji and them, just to celebrate for the work that we did on the album. So when we were over there, when I was coming back, I was there for a long time. So for the Canadian government, they probably why is he in there for a month? So when I came back, they like, put me through security check just because like, I'm a Middle Eastern guy too,
Yeah, most definitely, man.
So they put me through second check and they checked through my bags and all that stuff,
Yeah, most
So that was just like, that's what you see like nowadays,
Yeah.
Obviously back then it was probably not like this.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. And to speak more on the like childhood and teenage life aspect, what were you like, back then, like as before Bavaro Beatz, like as like a kid to a teenager until you turned like 18 and all that?
Yeah, so I got into music when I was pretty young, but it wasn't like this type of music. I started playing drums when I was like 12 or 13 years old, I think. And then from then I just like music was just like a thing for me, I always liked creating or like so like even when I would learn drums, like I would go and like play a song and like I would try to like replicate the drums of the song and play along with the song, just to like, teach myself to like play with any song. And then from that I transitioned to DJing. So that was like when I was like 16 years old, 15. I started DJing, and then I'm like I really like the whole concept of like, mixing songs and like, creating songs and like just being in control of the vibe basically,
Yeah, most definitely.
So like when I did that, that's when I started to produce after, because I'm like I want to make my own music,
Yeah. Like, mind if I ask, were there like, like other like systems that you had that kind of like fueled like that level of music? Like, I don't know, at home, like if you played video games and such, where there was like a Guitar Hero or like a Beatles like rock band or like, like a karaoke like type thing that kind of got you into that sense too, or was it just straight up within the producing?
Yeah, so like you said, like video games, Guitar Hero and stuff. So like as a kid, like I loved going to arcades because of Guitar Hero, Like I just like the whole concept of it. And then they didn't have the drums before, but like when I got a little bit older, they started bringing in the drum set too.
Oh.
So I started playing around with that stuff, and like I had a friend actually who had one at his house. So like we would just go like, play around, fuck around with his shit and just like play together, And then I started to take it serious because I'm like, yo, I really like doing this, like especially the drums part. So that's what like when it comes to my beats, like I'm very like critical on the drums, like that's like my specialty as a producer.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And like moving to Toronto in that sense too. Like I know that you've already explained this like at a certain amount of times. Like how was that transition like like moving to different countries and just like adapting to Western culture in that sense too. Just was it like a total like shock value like in that sense too, like a life change and all that, or was it like sort of like the same from like Dubai to Toronto in that sense?
Yeah, so Iran, like I said, I probably wouldn't remember as much, but it could be very similar as since they're both really like religious countries.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. For that one, like I don't think like really much changed, especially because I was a kid. Like I didn't really understand much. But when I came here, I was pretty like older, So that was like a very shock to me because, like like I said here, like the freedom's crazy, Like you
Yeah.
can like swear on the road, talk whatever you want to someone, and say whatever you want to someone. People are smoking weed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like me as a kid, I'm like, holy, like this is so overwhelming, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
know what you mean, man. Yeah.
you're like, fuck, should I do it? Like, is it like,
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of like a whole like peer pressure type thing and all that. Like,
Yeah.
and like it's usually like engaged like when you see it like firsthand too. Like I've noticed like people come from different areas. Like like the first 6 months, like they're kind of like adapting to the culture like a little bit too, like in like like fragments in that sense too. But like a year or so later, like they're a totally like different person in that sense.
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah.
But
man.
like with weed and stuff too, like I didn't even start smoking till like I was in high school. You know what I mean? Because I was always afraid of weed as a kid. Because like
Yeah.
I moved here in grade 6, so grade 6 and 8, like till 8, like I was still like like still like not trying to do anything like whatever would be like pictured as bad. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, most
The
definitely.
things that were not allowed in Dubai, I wouldn't do here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I know what you mean, man. And I know that you've talked about like your influences and stuff like within like an article like on Six Buzz and on like We Love Hip Hop. But what were like some artist sounds that you listened to like throughout that time? Like like whether it's like the rock stuff or like the hip hop. Like were there like other stuff like R&B or like pop music in that sense too, or just
Yeah, so for me, like when it came to like when I was playing drums and stuff, like I liked obviously listening to like the Metallicas and all those guys, and then but when I came to like listening to music, as in when I became a producer, was more like I started looking into people like producers like Metro Boomin, Southside, you know, Young Chop. You know, those guys were like Zaytoven. Those guys are like, to me, like like the goats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like they paved the way for a lot of producers that are really big right now. You know?
Yeah. And you would like consider them like your major like influences like when it comes to your sound in that sense too, or were there like other people like around that had that like different influence in that sense?
Yeah. So like for me it was, and then Murder Beats really got big, and then that's when I also like fuck with his shit because he's very diverse producer. You know, like he has his hands in every genre. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like that's what I really fuck with, and that's what I think will be you'll be a successful producer if you have like your hand in everything. You know what I mean? You're getting checks from every genre, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. And aside from like the people that you've worked with, you know, with Duvi, Benji, Vori, and like also like with TJ and Blue and all that, who would you like to work with someday that you've never really worked with before?
Like as in like international.
Uh, Either like in the city or either international and all that, you know?
Like in the city, I can't lie. I've actually worked with almost everyone that's pretty like popular in the city. Thankfully, and but when it comes to like obviously international, like I love Lil Baby. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
like a lot of the beats I make too is just like his type beat, you could say.
Yeah.
But I really fuck with this new guy too named Friday, so I want to probably work with that guy too, and the Lil Durk.
Most definitely, man, and all that. I mean, Figure Four and all that. Like he's also like fired to Kodak. Like hopefully that works out. Like there's like this one Toronto producer that actually produced like No Flocking and all that. Vinny X Prod. And that was like the biggest song like ever to date from him and all that. Like I think a lot of like major songs nowadays like in like the American like music scene and like all over like were from Toronto producers in that sense too. Like I think Slippery with Murder and all that, as well as like I think Bad and Bougie too. I don't know if Murder produced that, but
No, no, for sure. Because even right now, like we have, he's actually my friend too. He's my homie. His name's Evergreen, and he actually did the Lil Baby song on me. You know, and that was him and Chichi. He's a Atlanta producer that works with Lil Baby and them. So he actually got that placement. You know what I mean? And look at that. That song is a pretty big song right now. But like you said, there's a lot of like Canadian producers that are like doing like these things called loops.
yeah.
So like what they do is they send out these big producers melodies to use, and that's how they get placements because they're basically giving them the melody and all they do is just put drums.
Yeah, most definitely. I kind of skipped over this question too, but was producing like an initial goal or idea that you wanted to do for a career or a job, or was there like something else that you like really wanted to do in that sense?
So, like when I was a kid, like I always thought I'd be a lawyer for some reason. I don't know why. I just the whole aspect of it like really intrigued me, but like that's just like when you don't really know I was just like a kid, just thinking like it's that easy type shit.
Yeah.
I'll be always make jokes, be like I'll go to Harvard one day that I be,
Yeah.
but no, like I don't know. I feel like when I just got older, it's like you kind of open your eyes and you see like what makes you happy, and like I just decided to like do something that makes me happy, even like so when it's better I just put my 100% in something I like to do than like put my 50% in something I don't like to do.
Yeah, no, most definitely and all that. And I know like with high school too, like I know some people will influence you to kind of find your career pursuit like within high school and all that with, I don't know if you took like civics class in high school, like in grade 10, like you had to
Yeah.
take that, you'd have to, well, careers and civics, like you'd have to take that and all that. And then they'll help you out with like university and college type stuff. If not, you're just going to be in the workplace and all that. But would you say that high school was like sort of like beneficial at the time or not really?
I was actually lucky because I went to an art school, so my school was like everything was based on the arts. Like we were strong in the art section when it came to like pictures or paintings and like music and everything. And then so like I actually ended up joining my school band as a drummer, and then I was like drumming for the school band for like 3 years, and then I stopped the last year because I basically failed my co-op class, so I couldn't have a spare anymore, and I needed time to like basically do the homework and stuff again. So like I decided to like put the drums aside and just, if I want to focus on music, I'm gonna start focusing on the producing, you know, instead of doing the school band stuff.
Nah, most definitely, man. And I think we're just getting back onto the music aspect right now. So you had two projects, City Trauma and Beat It Up. What were like the creative processes for you, like for those projects?
The first one, Beat It Up, was more because of my tag, and why I call my tag Beat It Up Bavaro is because I used to find it funny, like, because I had a girl first do my tag, and then it says Bavaro Beat It Up, and then, you know, like that could go two ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that was basically the thing about it, and I just decided to keep it, and then I had another person do me a new tag, and then I just really fuck with his tag super hard, so I just kept that one as the main tag now.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Okay. So like usually like in two senses and all that, like either it's gonna be like, you know, consensual and all that, you know, with, you know, like the whole making out and all that, and then like there's the other aspect of like actual like boxing and all that. Like
yeah.
I had this like thought, like if you'd actually have like these like boxing gloves that say like Beat It Up Bavaro and all that, like that would actually like sell out well, you know?
Yeah, that'll be cool for sure. Do some merch hopefully someday.
Yeah, I think like with merch, like I think like there are like some good ideas that you could do. I mean, with the whole Beat It Up tag, you know, like Bavaro, you know, it might be ironic, but condoms, you know, like, you know, many people need condoms in a sense too. So honestly, like just selling it in that sense too, like
Yeah.
you definitely like make money either way, or like boxing gloves and all that. Like, you know, people are getting into the ring now, you know, and all that, you know, like
No, for sure.
yeah.
No, that'll be definitely something funny to look into for sure.
Yeah, most definitely, man. The stage name, how did you manage to get that stage name by any chance?
This is actually a really interesting one because like I said, I used to really be into like like when I got into the DJing aspect, like I was super into house music. So like I have like a really like easy, like I have a like a easy ear. Like what I mean by that is like I'll listen to a lot of different type of music, you know what I mean? Like I'm not always like in a box listening to like the same stuff, you know? I like to like go to different genres and see like what other people are doing in these like areas, you know what I mean? So when it came to that, it's like there was this DJ named Alvaro, you know, and like he was really sick like back in my like when I was younger. So I'm like, yo, I really like this guy's ring to his name, you know, like the Varo part, you know. So I'm like, let me just like literally, I'm just saying random words of like Bavaro, Cavaro, Lavaro, just saying a bunch of words until the Bavaro one like stuck to me. And I find out that's actually a city in Dominican Republic as well. So I get that question a lot if I got inspo from there.
Like if they were to ask if you're like Dominican and all that, or like Spanish and all that, because like, you know, a Persian guy like named Bavaro Beatz, like it's like kind of like a rarity in that sense, you know. So
Yeah, exactly.
like they would have to assume like either way, like with the skin tone, like beard and all that. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's facts.
Most definitely. You know, with the music that you make right now, which are like, you know, hit projects and singles, like, you know, Project Baby and all that, Beat It, and also like with Two Sides of Me versus like your previous music, did you feel that there was like a significant change for the better, like in your music and all that?
Yeah, for sure. Like I personally like think like my music, like my beats have changed in quality, as in the mixing of my beats, because I'm an engineer as well, and so like I'm very key on my own beats, like mixing them. So like when I'm making them, I'm mixing it at the same time. So I just save myself that second step, you know.
Yeah.
So the more beats I make, the more things I find that I could fix. You know what I mean? So when it comes to quality or like different sounds, so like I was saying, I listen to a lot of other music, you know. So I try to replicate maybe like a house melody, but like put it on like a trap drums. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that's when I started tapping into like I could say maybe a different whole nother genre type stuff. You know what I mean? Like a whole nother vibe that you could, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. So have you like listened to like some of the stuff before? Like I don't know if it's like Jersey Club or like Baltimore Club and all that. Like it's just like that whole like EDM music that's kind of like popular nowadays with rap. I mean, there's this guy named Too Rare that works with like Dirk and Emily Chapa that actually makes that type of stuff. So was that kind of like the vibe that you were like on for a bit too, or?
Yeah, like like not to say like I want to start making house music or anything like that. It's just like maybe just get like like some just take the sauce from all the little thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like why I like this beat. Why do I like this house song? This is the reason. Okay, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna start maybe replicating on my beats. You know what I mean? See how
Yeah.
that sounds. You know?
Yeah, most definitely. I never really asked this for like, producers or like other artists as well too. But have you ever had any experience working with like female artists like from the city before or like just out of state? And if so, what was like that experience like?
I honestly, as of right now, I'm working with 3 female artists. One of them I think you might know, Lady SB.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we just got tapped in together. But I have 2 other artists that I'm also working with. They're not like out as much yet, but
Yeah.
like they have a good sound that I fuck with. One of
Yeah.
them's named Jude, and the other one she goes by Kitiana. So they're both 2 different type artists,
Yeah.
but one of them is like more in the more in my type of sound that I
Yeah.
like. She likes to go in the rock star trap vibe,
Yeah,
and the other ones are like basically like a more of a gangster rap.
Yeah, most definitely and all that. Because I know like nowadays too with like female artists like in the city and all that, like it's bigger and better than ever, but then there's like a whole lot of like conversation like sparking up about like female artists like in the city if they're putting in more work than the male artists. Like I know like right now it's like Chroma's, Paris Richards, Tia Banks, supposedly Plush, the girl who made like the Spliffers, like Ida type thing, and then like a whole lot of like other people too and all that. So it is interesting to see in that sense too. But how do you even feel about like the female artists like rising up right now?
Yeah, honestly, like Toronto wise, like I really just follow the girls that I'm working with personally, not to like just to like just that's how I do with the people I work
Yeah,
with, but
most definitely.
like in international when it comes to US, like I'm super like I fuck with this girl named Glorilla.
Yeah.
I think she's super hard, you know what I mean? Cause like we need girls like that, like yeah, she got that ratchet sound to her, you know what I mean? She's not coming out with the like the cheesy stuff as in she's always not talking
Yeah.
about the sex appeal. She's
Yeah.
talking about like, some gangster shit, which is pretty cool, and like we need like artists that like, that could tap into that bag, you know?
Yeah, most definitely, man. I know like you've worked with like a lot of people before too, but like like in Toronto right now, I think people emphasize like the whole like street rap being like the only Toronto underground like scene that you should only focus on too. But then a lot of the most like popping artists right now that are doing more so like shows and like getting like product placements are usually either like female artists or like non like street related artists. But like even in that sense too, to be respected like by the mainstream, did you ever feel like that there's like a stigma for those types of artists to be recognized and taken seriously as opposed to like the street artists like in that sense too? And what do you think can be done to remove the stigma?
Well, like why the street rappers are more popping because they're more entertaining, right? Because there's a little bit of a drama behind them, when it
Yeah.
comes to their music. Like people want to hear who they're dissing now, like who they're talking about now, They're not really taking in like the craft of the music, So like you have artists that like are harder working, and they're really putting in work and like it's really good music, but like they can't really get their name out there because they're not from no block, or like even if they are, like they're not trying to promote that, you know what I mean? Like they're not trying to promote any of that, because you don't want to be promoting all of that, just to get clout.
Yeah. No, exactly. I don't know if you saw this post on like IG or Torontology and all that, but it was like this Toronto police officer talking like on a podcast more so about like why these like drill artists are like more famous nowadays too.
Yeah, I saw that.
So how did you feel about that situation?
Yeah, so he's definitely right, because like they're trying to put in work and get a name for themselves, but they have to be legit about what they're saying, right? So they have to actually go and put in that work,
Yeah.
So once you decided that you want to be a drill rapper, the drilling comes with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And do you ever feel like, like even in that sense too, because I know like, when you're working with these types of people and all that, like anything can happen too in that sense. So like, like a misunderstanding or like a wrong message could lead to like a different situation. And how would you kind of like, like deflect that situation or try to prevent it in that sense if it were to ever like come to you in that sense?
Yeah, so I personally was almost in a situation like that, but the thing is, like, I'm also like, they have a different type of respect. Like, I started to work with now, like now I work with people that obviously, like, you know, they fully respect me and stuff. But in the beginning, like, you know, when you're trying to just build your clientele, and just like, especially as an engineer, it was just good side money, you know what I mean? So I had a bunch of, like, you know, whatever, like a lot of hood people coming up, you know, trying to work with me, you know. So like, since like I was working with a lot of these guys, you know, they just felt like entitled sometimes because of like how they move in with other people. But like, once you show people like who you are, and like what you're also capable of, maybe, so like they just like understand, you know. So like, not to pull anything like that with you, and like, especially when you have a like a rep and like work that's been put in, like, you know, with all these artists, like, you know, the artists sometimes vouch for me type stuff, you know. If a guy from his hood came up to me saying this is that, like, his OG is gonna tell him, no, you don't talk to this guy this way, you know.
Most definitely. Like I do feel like it is like sort of like, you know, similar to like within certain approaches. Like I know, like, you know, with producers, like they're always gonna get like that next level respect too, because they're actually helping out, like creating the sound and like helping out, you
Yeah,
know, with the vision
exactly.
too. And you know, there's like this like weird debate nowadays too. It was even on blog TO2. There's this guy named David Del Rosario and all that. You know, like he made a
Yeah, that's
post.
my homie.
He made like a post a while back, you know, more so on quitting like videography and all that because of these situations where, you know, like people aren't paying like, you know, like the price and all that, and people are expecting like stuff for free and all that. So I don't know like how you like felt about that post like that happened.
Yeah, so like, even with David, you know, he's my homie. We were actually in Dubai together, and you know, like, for him to say that, it's crazy because he's actually very, like, you know, humble guy. He doesn't really like speak out, you know. He's a very nice guy, you know. But for him to say that, like, somebody must have really pushed him to the edge, because I personally didn't get the details of the situation. But if someone's like, you know, like, I dealt with situations like people, like, they're trying to pay me half for this, and then they want to drop the song, and then they're gonna pay me when they get more money type stuff, you know. But I know people have money, you know what I mean, but they just decide not to pay you right now, you know, because they just don't respect you like that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. If someone is like, you're giving them the service is done, you should get paid for the service that's
Yeah.
been done, you know what I mean. You shouldn't like wait for your money, like he didn't wait for his service, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. I think even too in that sense, I think it happens for every creative too, because like when they expect something for free and all that, like they expect like high quality art, you know, with a minimum like approach, you know, like they're expecting like, hey, could you do this? Like even though we're not providing the resources and all that, like even though, and they'll kind of say it like within like a team aspect, like, hey, we'll put you on the team and all that. Hey, we'll do like this for you. Hey, we'll give you like free passes and all that. And then you realize too, like it's not even worth it like paying like 1K, you know, or even like 10K of like equipment and all that, and then
Yeah,
you
see, like, if someone is so like, let's say the artist, like, for videographer aspect, right? So like, let's say like you're a videographer, and like you have some sort of credits but not as much, and you have an artist that wants to like work with you, but he's offering to be like, okay, look, I'll buy you a camera, but you're gonna give me free videos. Okay, that's a fair deal, you know, because cameras are very expensive, and if
yeah,
the artist is willing to still work with the videographer, you know, and they build something, that's a team effort, you know what I mean. So if you have a lot of people that will do that too, you know, but if you're just gonna say like, oh, like here, I'll rent you a camera, but like you're gonna do it for free, that's not how it goes, you know what I
yeah,
mean, because like he's not getting anything out of that, the camera's gone, you know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I do feel like even in that sense too, I feel like with this culture, like because like a lot of people either they have the budget or they don't have the budget and all that, even though there are resources and all that, like it's always like that whole like, you know, I'm gonna get like that whole like 5 finger discount and all that, you know, getting it for free, that would benefit me more than like anything else because it works out for the budget too. But even so, it goes wrong on both ways and all that. Like you either might not get your footage, you get exposed, or like you might get like blackballed in a sense to either like the person like creating the product,
Mhm.
or just like, you know, like that artist like receiving that product in general and all that, you know. So
Yeah, no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, it's just like, it's just all about like who you have to just know who you work with, honestly. And like sometimes people like might seem like, yeah, they're on the gram they look lit, you know, but really like behind it it's just like it's all fake, you know. So
Yeah.
like they don't really have all that stuff that they say they do.
Yeah, most definitely, man. How do you feel about rapper type beats right now? And you know, if it diminishes like the artistry, like when making those types of productions, because I know like a lot of people had that discussion like a while back too. I don't know if it's like still like a conversation right now, or if it's like a different vibe right now.
Yeah, so obviously when I started out, like I was always like, you know, like just to learn, like hearing, because I would just still listen to beats myself on YouTube, just to listen to see what other people are making, right? So like there's a lot of type beats out there, you know what I mean? And that's just because like it just helps, like let's say the listener to get an idea of what this beat could like who like what flows could go on this beat, you know what I mean? It's more like helping the artist like vision something, you know what I mean? So they understand like how to approach the beat, you feel me? But I personally, when I give out packs, like I don't send out a pack that says Lil Baby type beats or
Yeah.
like this is that type beats. I put only Bavaro type beats. You know what I mean? Because that's your brand. You know what I mean? And every beat that you make is your type beat. You know what I mean?
Most definitely. We just have these couple questions left right here. Like we might even lead like a little discussion on that. But how do you feel about the city right now? Like in terms of like the music going on, do you feel like there should be some changes on where the scene should go to, or do you feel like it's fine the way it is for everyone involved?
I mean, like everyone involved, I think definitely put in more work because we don't have like we have a like a good pretty good lineup of artists, but like there's maybe like five or six of them just putting in work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and like we just like I just feel like people are more invested into like the politics than like their music. So if we just fix that and just like focus on music and like imagine like what we could do for the city, you know, like you got the biggest artists working together, you know, bringing that. So that was even me making those tapes was like basically trying to achieve that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you'll never hear like let's say a Doovie or like a Burna Bands on the same album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll never hear that because they just, you know.
It's politics and all that. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
most
so
definitely.
that's what I was trying to achieve as in like as a collective we like, you know, we come together and like no fuck all the bullshit, you know, just like do it for the music, you know? So that's what I was basically trying to achieve with my tapes and stuff. So what we could do, we could definitely improve, you know, just you know, just keep it positive.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I do feel like right now for me, like there is a good and a bad to it. I think you know, like with the bad, there's like a lot of issues that come, you know, within funding too. I do feel like not a lot of people really do seek out like funding like that with like you know like Factor and like SoCan and like the Arts Council. Like I do feel like that's like important to like if people do want to reach out, because usually like you know trap money or like just like even like with a minimum wage type thing, you know like you know it might be hard to like pay for the beats and like unless you save up like all that money, but like sometimes it can be like time consuming too. I do feel like the exposure is good with like social media, like with Six Buzz and also with Keep Six Solid and like We Live Hip Hop. Like I do feel like it's showcasing something like that too, even with the indie ones as well too. And
Mm.
then so it's kind of like a weird mixture. It's like a good and a bad too in that sense. But I think it's something that Toronto needs. Like right now, I think it's something that it's kind of like working for Toronto right now than anything else too.
Yeah.
Because I think with a different approach or a different method, like it's not really gonna work out like that. I do feel like you know like even having like PR teams too, or like you know even like brand consulting, you know for like certain artists, like it could actually like work out for the better too. You know to sharpen their image and to also kind of like help them out in a way too, and like I think just like remove like the toxic energy like even going on too like within the scene, because I know there's like a lot of stuff like Toronto abusers that used to happen too, and like you know polys going on in the city. So
Yeah, so like what I honestly noticed is like when you have a team behind you and you have a bunch of people that are help working to make you the star and make you like you know get you out there. I noticed that those people are the ones that are most likely succeeding is because their team is trying their best to keep this guy out of the streets and keep him in the studio. You know what I mean? And just like don't entertain anything like that's negative and like focus on the music and your craft. You know what I mean? So like and like that's what I've noticed. It's just like if you get yourself a team that's like positive people and they're just there in the studio working for you and just trying to put in work for you so you can become big one day, that's how you can definitely like achieve and become like we can improve as like as a collective as artists, you know.
Yeah, most definitely. Aside like even like from the media stuff, do you feel like stuff like like the whole like Rolling Loud thing that just happened just a while back, the academics like live stream that happened like last year, and then like even with like the clubhouse sessions, do you think it helped out in a way too in bringing that exposure, or
Definitely, definitely, because that like how it started was like the clubhouse with academics, right? And then those really like popped off because you have academics. He has a big platform, you know. He's also like a reporter and stuff. So he like him just like talking about Toronto music and even like whatever some sort of politics that they have. Even though it's not good to promote the politics, but you know, as long as we're being talked about, it's like, you know, it was a good move for us, you know. But the Rolling Loud was probably the biggest opportunity that Toronto artists got,
yeah,
was because now you have an American company that's here trying to invest and like, you know, put you guys on. But a lot of people took that for granted, you know what I mean? And just like didn't appreciate their position that they had, and they could have like, you know, done so much more with their position. But so like I promise you there are probably a lot more artists that would have taken advantage of
yeah,
that situation, but some of them just don't understand, I guess, because like, you know, like maybe in the moment like they think it's like not like that, but when you really think about it, it's like that was probably the biggest opportunity an artist that if you were there that you
yeah.
had, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do feel like even in that sense too, like some people kind of like digged around on that topic too, like which led to some people getting removed too, and then underwhelming performances like too in that sense too, and then you've had people that actually really wanted to perform too. Like I think they tried reaching out to Roadrunner like for that, and then it didn't work out in that sense too. I think they even had like like a lot of people like Benji too that was supposed to be on there. I think he kind of like turned it down. I don't know if
Yeah, so yeah, Benji turned it down because we were about to drop an album, and he's not fully like with his catalog of music, like he definitely with his sound definitely improved and is now different than what it was
yeah,
from before. It's like a whole nother sound that
yeah,
we were trying to like, you know, achieve. So he was like basically thinking about his craft, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't want to be remembered as like the old Benji. He wants to he has this new
yeah.
sound that we're ready to, you know, give out to the world and stuff. So he even declined Wireless Festival. You know what I
Oh
mean?
wow.
He was supposed to perform at Wireless Festival in the UK,
Yeah.
and he also turned that down because, you know, like it's just patience. You know, like we still have these connections. You know, it's not like they're gonna go anywhere. We're definitely gonna be there next year. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
definitely. And I want to ask like more about like Benji right now because I never really asked like about the artist like aspects. So you've been around like a lot of people like Benji and Duvi and also like with Vori as well too. So or like even like Smiley too. Like so what were they like like outside of the cameras and outside of like the social media and all that? Like how are they like just being around like certain places and all that? Just like
Bro, like I like, you know, believe it or not, these guys are, you know, just like regular people like us. You know what I mean? But it's just like, well, obviously when you build a relationship with them, you know, like you see a more, you could say like a goofy side of them, or like, you know,
uh,
joking around, you know, like just comfortable with you, you know, like Benji especially, you know, he always treated me like, you know, family and stuff, you know, he
uh,
always took care of me, you know, always made sure I was good and stuff, you know. Smiley too, you know, that's my homie,
yeah,
and he always checks in with me whenever he comes to Toronto because
yeah.
he moved to LA now, so he's over there. So like those two especially like really show me a lot of love every time, you know.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And even Vori too, because I know like Vori and like Benji, they're sort of like cool and all that, like just off the music side and all that. So
Yeah.
what was it like, like meeting like an American artist like Vori too, and like what his vibe is like, like when making music?
Yeah, so like with him, I actually didn't have the opportunity to be in the studio, but I was in a group chat with him and stuff, and just like from there it was like I could just understand like he was already fucking with me because he was like, yo, who made this beat when the on the Benji tape, right? And then he was like, yo, I need to work with this producer, you know. And then I'm tapped in with his engineer right now, so that's how I got the placement on Project Baby, because I sent beats to his engineer.
Most definitely. And I know Benji, like I think he had like an interesting like life change for him too, because like one of his closest friends, R.I.P. Houdini, like
Yeah.
he lost him like like just 2 years ago and all that, and like you know maybe like that lifestyle kind of changed for him because like like having like someone close to you like that, life's like not the same too. So had he ever like reflected on that, like even like with the music and even with other stuff going on too?
No, for sure. Like, he has some tattoos obviously that shows him, and then his music, he always shouts out, bro, twin, even on the tape, he had a amazing song called Long Live Twin, you know. So he always shows Houdini love, and like, it's just crazy because, it's just like, imagine like you as a human, like you think about your own best friend, and then you think about losing him, and you just think about like what he could have gone through, but like what he did is like he took it and put it in his music, you know what I mean? He put the pain in the music, so like everybody could relate to some shit like that, you know what I mean? That's why when you listen to a Benji song, you're just like, damn, like he's saying some shit,
Most definitely, man. We just have these last couple things right now, but what's next for you in terms of any of the music, creative projects, and so forth? And do you have any closing remarks you'd like to say? Like, I know the Benji's like dropping a project soon, as you explained, but I don't know if there's like other music like in the works.
Yeah, so as of right now, I'm super just focused on Benji's album dropping, because I have two tracks on there, and then I also have stuff coming out with Smiley again, and also Vori.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I definitely would love to hear that and all that. And I don't know if you want to like shout out like the socials for people to check you out and all that. Before like we head off.
Yeah, you can find me at Instagram at Bavaro Beatz with a Z. And it's Bavaro Beats with a Z. So you guys can, if you need any music sessions or engineer sessions, beats, you can hit me on there, and I'll get back to you guys for sure.
All right, that's great, man. Bavaro Beatz, thank you for coming by on this podcast to like speak like a lot of gems, like speak like on a lot of like interesting stories. I wish nothing but the best for you and all that. I would definitely love to hear like the music soon coming up, like either like when it's like released or just like with anything else too, like if it happens, like on IG. So like most definitely, like I'll definitely tap in. And for people that's about to watch the episode soon or like just like listen to it, this is episode 19 of TLOY Talks. You could stream it when it's released on Spotify and on other platforms as well too. You could also view it on YouTube. You could also check out like my socials too at Lens of Yashu, as well as in Habitable Joshua as well too. So definitely check that out. And this is episode 19 of TLOY Talks with Josh, also known as Yashu, signing off.